Hi everyone, Tarun here. The purpose of this video is to just pass on some general feedback about the assignments we've been receiving in the selection process. So at Deep Thought, we generally tend to share a good amount of feedback. Although when you have thousands of applicants coming in, it's very difficult to give feedback to everybody, but there's definitely some general patterns we observe, and I think when we can have a discussion around this, that could be really useful. So in this video, my feedback is especially around the last round, right? So in Deep Thought, once everybody completes the rounds, in the last round, we ask people to share what did you learn in the selection process? What did you learn in the selection process? Now, this is a very fundamental question that we ask because when you're trying to hire a fresher, there's not much you can look in a fresher because the person has not worked in an organization. The person may not have, you may not have much of skills if you're a fresher, and you may not have past incidents. I mean, if I'm hiring somebody with experience, I would ask questions like, what was the most interesting project you did? What did you guys do? What are the obstacles you ran into? How did you fix it? What are the metrics you can tell me, which talk about the impact of your project? So there's so many such questions, because there's a history and I can ask questions probing into that work history, and that helps in understanding the candidate. So when you hire somebody with 3+ years experience, it becomes easy to sort of evaluate the person because there's a certain work history, and the idea is to probe that. But when it comes to a fresher, you're not looking at history, you're looking at future. It's purely future. Of course, any recruitment is about future, right? It's about what can you do with this candidate, right? What kind of impact can you create along with this candidate is what you try to understand in recruitment. But when you talk of freshers, it's largely around what can you do with this candidate? What is the potential this candidate has? So the way in which we evaluate this potential is by seeing, can this candidate learn? How quickly, what the learning velocity of this candidate, right? So how quickly can this person pick things up? Now, on that note, we give this question, okay, I put you through 2 rounds, or I put you so many rounds, and each of these rounds, I gave you some newsletters, I gave you some videos, I asked you to go through so much of knowledge. What did you actually grasp out of it, right? So it's okay if you don't have the skills. It's okay if you don't have the experience. That's perfectly all right. You can gain the experience with us, right? You can learn the skills with us. That's perfectly all right. But question is, how serious are you? How passionate are you towards what you're doing? That's why we asked this question about what did you learn? And let me give some background of why this is very important. Because in the 21st century, a highly underrated skill is situation handling. Those individuals with good situation handling would do really well in 21st century, with things changing very fast, with a lot of new technology coming in. Probably the importance of situation handling is even more pronounced in the 21st century than it ever was, right? So, and today I see that even normal companies, right, are saying that I want candidates who can learn from situations and who can become smart with situations. Maybe 10 years back, not many companies emphasized on it. Maybe only the visionary companies would look for people with situation handling, and maybe only visionary companies would look for people who are able to learn from one situation to the other. But right now, in the 21st century, you see more and more companies saying that, hey, I want people who get wiser with situations, right? Who, you're put in a situation, are you able to learn something from it? So are you like a sponge? A sponge absorbs everything, right? So are you like a sponge absorbing everything out of every situation? So that is why we give this task. Now, what's the feedback? A lot of people, when I ask them, what did you learn out of all these situations? I get a lot of opinion, and I get a lot of flattery, trying to impress. I mean, look, please understand one thing. If I'm a serious organization and you're trying to flatter me or you're trying to impress me saying you're a great organization, I'd obviously not be impressed, because I know that the people who flatter are the ones who with no loyalty to the organization. Most cases, right? They'll impress one organization. Next hour, they'll go impress one more organization. They don't really value what the organization is doing. So flattery doesn't work. With most serious organizations, flattery doesn't work. So, and if someone is just resorting to flattery, it means that person is lazy. That person is not interested in the videos or the newsletters. That person wants to take a shortcut instead of me spending, an hour or 2 hours going through this whole material and understanding the material. Chalo thoda makkan dal dete, we'll put some butter, flatter this organization, and that way we'll get away. So that's a huge red flag if you're just flattering without, quoting concrete ideas that you've learned from the newsletter or from the videos. Now you might ask, what does this have to do with a software engineer's job? What does it have to do with a front-end developer or a back-end developer or a data scientist? Why are you asking me to go through stuff and write? Is it a content writer role or is it a software role? My answer is, look, if you're in a product innovation environment, you're looking at the domain problems, you're understanding what the requirements are, and then you're trying to build technology on top of it. And every product has a lot of assumptions. There are assumptions that we take as the foundation and we build on top of that. So it's very important for you to know that theory or know those assumptions, because the entire product decision making is around that theory or assumptions. Now, one reason why you don't like to hire freshers for a product environment is a fresher has no respect for knowledge. Usually a fresher has no respect for that knowledge. The fresher feels that if I'm able to write the JavaScript code, I'll become a good product-oriented developer, and it's not my job to teach that fresher what is required in a product environment, right? This is why a lot of companies don't hire a fresher. But if I really have to tell you what does it take to succeed, I think to have that domain knowledge and to be able to take decisions using that domain knowledge is super, super critical for a fresher in a product-oriented company. So Swiggy, Amazon, Netflix, all of these are product companies, as opposed to say at TCS, Genpact and all, which are service companies. In a service company, you work say 2 months, 3 months, say 1 year on one client, and then quickly move to another product. Or maybe you're working on multiple products at the same time. So you're not that deeply involved with one product. But in a product company, you're probably spending 3 to 4 years on the same product. You go very in depth into that knowledge, right? Now, one more thing is on the technology front, right? Your ability to pick up some knowledge, understand that knowledge and implement it becomes critical. I'll give you a very simple example. Typically in the first month of hiring a software developer, right? I'm talking about the front end folks. The back end folks usually don't have much of a problem in this area, although they'll have problems in other areas. So this example will apply more for the front end folks. So we tell them not to hard code stuff. Hard code stuff as in you use a constant over there. You declare the constant over there as opposed to declaring a variable, because you declare a constant over there, it will work only for that situation. It will not be generalized for any situation because it's a constant, right? It's not a variable. So we tell them on the front end, if you're showing something, right? Let's say you're showing a string on the HTML code. Try not to, mention that string there. Try to have a variable and assign that value to the variable and let the variable be shown. People don't do that. And we also explain the way a good practice, right, to do this is you declare a local variable, all the information that you need on the front end, the HTML, you store that information inside that local variable. And you borrow all the information from the local variable and then show it. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? The advantage of doing this, let's say you have a page. You're trying to show the product name, you're trying to show the product price, and you're trying to show some product details. Product name, price, and details. So a good practice is declare a local variable. So a local object. And in that object, you have one attribute which is the name, you have an attribute which is details, and you have an attribute which is price. So in the code, you can just say obj.name, obj.price, obj.details, and just show it. Now, what's the beauty of this? You're a front-end developer. Later, let's say you want to do API integration when the API gets ready. All you do is you replace that local object with the API. Today, you have a local object and all the data is moving from the local object. Now, when the API gets ready, that API data would replace this object. So your thought process is being dynamic. Your thought process is not being static. Now, when this concept was being explained, a lot of people didn't completely comprehend it. Now, what is a problem if I hire a person who doesn't comprehend? You end up repeating it multiple times. Now, repetition is a cost to a company. And also that person makes a mess up. When the person makes a mess up, you're supposed to do it again. That's rework, right? You did some work for 5 hours. Now there's a mistake. So you're supposed to do it all over again. And let's say you spend another 3 hours doing it again. That's rework. Rework is a cost to the company. Repeating the same guidelines again and again is a cost to the company. Rework is a cost to the company. So in a nutshell, when you hire candidates who do not have good comprehension, that's a huge cost to the company. So now let me explain the mechanics of this, right? Or the psychology of this. Why does this happen? See, there are some people with food aversion, right? That is, they don't feel like eating food. So they don't eat food at all. There's some people who just don't eat food at all. So they get very, sick over a period of time because of food aversion. Now I see that there are individuals with concept aversion or jargon aversion. You explain them a concept, for example, that local variable and all of that. They'll not use the word local variable at all. They will just say that store information this way and all of that. They'll not use the keyword. Now, are keywords important? I would say yes and no. By hearting and remembering the keywords is not going to get the job done. By hearting and remembering the keywords is not going to get the job done. But if you don't remember that word, you're not connecting with the concept. So the thing about language and the thing about these words is they give you control over a certain meaning. Language gives you control over a certain meaning. So the moment you internalize that language, the moment that language gets inside you, you're getting control over those ideas. The moment that language gets inside you, you're getting control over those ideas. So that's the power of language. So when you're having language aversion, when you're trying not to pick up the concepts, for example, in level 2, let's say I've given this video where there's a hedgehog concept being explained. A lot of people have just ignored it. A lot of people have not even had a look at it. Or say Stockdale paradox. What is Stockdale paradox? What is level 5 leadership? Or Mr. Hariharan Anand speaks about Kafka. What is challenging about Kafka? Why Kafka is being used? Why streaming applications use Kafka? Or he talks about reusability. What is reusability? Why we bring in reusability? A lot of people have not spoken of this. They just come and say, he's super inspiring. I'm sorry, we are software companies. We are not YouTubers. We are not in the business of inspiring people. We are in the business of, explaining what the idea is about, because as software professionals, we learn ideas and we work with ideas to build products. We work with ideas to build products, right? So if you are taking some of this content as inspiration, if you're taking some of this content as inspiration, for me, that is dangerous. It is dangerous because a lot of youth today are addicted to motivation. Like alcohol and drugs, I think motivation is a huge problem. A lot of times in life, we feel very low, we feel very lost, we feel underconfident. Because we feel underconfident, we go to these motivational speakers because they give us that medicine that you're good enough. But the problem with this medicine is our brain is always getting into that mode of, I want to feel good, I want to feel good, I want to feel good. But the brain is not trying to take the natural remedy of learning. When you learn new concepts, when you learn new ideas, when you learn the reason of why something works somewhere, a brain gets a eureka moment. And a eureka moment is natural cure. You don't need motivation. These eureka moments can naturally give you that stimulation and make you look for more challenges and go for more challenges. So if you listen to a lot of philosophy, you listen to literature, listen to very high quality content, initially it's like it strains the brain. It puts a little burden on the brain initially, but as you get used to it, it gives you those eureka moments, and eureka moments naturally heal you. So today, a lot of youngsters are watching these motivational videos, and that motivational videos again leads to this learning aversion, where we put all the concepts, we put all the jargon aside, and rather try to quote headlines and quote motivation. So if I have given you this feedback, on the WhatsApp group saying that this only has headlines and this does not have substance, probably this is the point. Now, how do you overcome this? I mean, I've said a lot of things. Then the question you might have is, how do I overcome this? My point is simple. Take a paper, take a pen, start taking notes. And if you didn't hear it properly, rewind it, play it again, take that notes, note it down, take a dictionary, understand what its meaning is, look it up. Initially, it's painful. Until you improve your language, it's painful. Because till today, till this age, you didn't invest on your language, right? You didn't invest on reading books. You didn't invest on going through good programs. If you watch panel discussions on news channels, if you watch very good content, your brain would have got developed to accept this kind of terminology, this kind of language. If not, that's okay. At least now you have to start doing it if you want to work for a world-class organization, if you want to work in a software role. Otherwise, I mean, working in these innovation roles, working in this software roles where there's 100x impact, right? Like you build one software and millions of people are using your software. This involves a lot of thinking. This requires IQ. Now, to do that, obviously, you have to invest in your language, right? So what do you do? The point is simple. Take notes, underline those keywords. If you don't understand them, look it up in the dictionary. Write 2 or 3 examples. Write 2 or 3 examples of what it means. Because when you can write an example of it, you get control of that idea. You understand that idea. So I think the moment you start practicing this, for starters, simple. Can you take a paper? Can you take a pen and start writing notes? See, today what happens is we have around 1.25 crore people. We have around 1.25 crore people who are passing with a BTech degree every year in India, of which that's 12.5 million, of which only 2.5 million are getting decent software jobs. So what happens to other 12.5 million? Other 1.25 crore people, right? 15 million, sorry, 15 million is what passes BTech, 2.5 million get tech jobs. So 1.25 crore people are having a BTech degree but not getting a job. Why? These people are unable to clear entrance exams of companies. Now, the people who are unable to clear entrance exams of companies is because they've not been good students in their life. So if you are having this problem of attending a lot of interviews, not being able to crack interviews, I would strongly say get into this habit of taking notes. Get into this habit of becoming a better learner. That will definitely land you into a good company very soon. That will also make you more effective at whatever you do. It's okay. Till this age, nobody taught you how to be a good learner. You didn't invest on being a good learner. But now you're mature, you're an adult, you know how to make good choices for your life. So it's important that you invest on your learning habits and you start taking good notes. And that's when you have control over that knowledge that you're exposed to, right? Language is a powerful tool. If you have control over language, you have control over your life, you have control over technology. So please start taking notes and start really appreciating real learning. Move away from the emotion. Emotions are nice. Emotions are an integral part of our life. But apart from emotion, it's important to get that learning also. I hope I've been able to convey this well. If not, please leave your questions in the comments. I'm happy to reply you in the comments so that you get clarity around this. My intention is not about whether you join Deep Thought or you don't join Deep Thought. Youth are the biggest asset of any country. Youth are the biggest asset of any country. So if you do well in any company, I'm sure India will do well. And that's my interest towards making this video. So go ahead, ask your questions. I'll be very happy if you're able to improve your comprehension, because that'll be fantastic for the Indian software industry. So once again, I just request you, if you didn't follow some of these things, just go ahead, put your question in the comments. Very happy to take that. And those who are interested in applying to Deep Thought, the link is in the description. You can apply for this opportunity at Deep Thought. And as I mentioned, take notes while you watch the videos, take notes while you read the newsletters. And finally, when you're asked, what did you learn through the selection process, make sure you're concretely able to explain all your learnings in detail, right? So wishing you guys all the best, do well wherever you go. Thank you, everyone.